Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is our last lesson of Unit 1. It's rounding decimals 1-13, 1-14. And our goal is today I will round whole numbers and round decimals. We'll be using both types of numbers. So our only vocab word really is, what does round mean? And round means you're going to be replacing the number with what I would call like an about number. Rounding is really important because that's what you really do in everyday life, is we don't always use exact numbers. We always use about numbers. Okay, our notes today are the 0 through 4, 5 through 9. So hopefully you've heard this little riddle. 0 through 4 stays the same as before. And 5 through 9 goes up the line. And this is something that we usually learn in maybe second grade, but it's a great trick, so we just keep it with us. Okay, our other note is you have to know your place values. You must know your place values to be successful on this lesson, but also on the entire Unit 1 test. So hopefully we've kind of mastered them. So remember, I always like to start at the decimal. So on the decimal side, I have the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths. Okay, and the whole numbers, I kind of work backwards. I have the ones, the tens, the hundredths, the thousands, the 10,000s, and the 100,000s. It's going to be crucial that you know those. If you're still learning them, remember you can refer to your place value charts that we've glued in your spiral. Okay, our steps today look long, but hang in there. Okay, number 1 says you're going to underline the digit you are rounding to. So every problem will tell you what place value you're going to be rounding to. Okay, number 2's kind of the big one. We're going to circle the digit to the right. We're going to circle the digit to the right, and the circled digit is your bossy neighbor. He's going to be the one who's going to make the decisions. So your bossy neighbor says, I'm a blank, so blank. He's going to tell the other number what to do. So he's going to say, I'm a blank, so blank. And we'll see what that looks like. Our next step is all the digits to the right of the rounded, which is our underlined digit, become zeros, and all the digits to the left stay the same. Now I did put a little note here that this may not always be the case for the very tricky ones, but usually all the digits to the left are going to stay the same. Okay, so what does this look like? You're going to see lots of different kinds of problems, so I try to kind of get 2 different ones to show you. Okay, the first one is more of like a word problem. It says, what number, when rounded to the nearest 10,000, rounds to 470,000? And this one is kind of like a multiple choice. So the way I would attack this one is I would have to check each one. So I would just get my steps, and it first says I'm going to underline the digit I'm rounding to. Well, I usually like to rewrite the number because usually they don't give it large enough. So I'm going to underline the digit I'm rounding to. Well, they told me here I'm rounded to the nearest 10,000. They tell you what you're rounding to. So what is my 10,000? Well, this one doesn't have decimals, so this is, remember, my ones, my tens, my hundreds. my thousands, and this is my 10,000s. So that's the digit I'm rounding to. Then it says I'm going to circle the digit to the right. That digit's going to be my bossy neighbor, and he's going to make the decision. So this is my right. I'm going to circle him, and he's going to say, I'm a 3, so, hopefully you caught it, stay the same as before, because 0 through 4 stays the same as before. So he says, I'm a 3, so stay the same as before. So he tells the 6 to stay the same as before. Okay, next, all the digits to the right of the rounded, which is my underlined one, become zeros. So that becomes a 0, that becomes a 0, the 1 becomes a 0, the 3 becomes a 0. And my last step is all the digits to the left stay the same. So the 4 stays the same. Okay, so A, when rounded to 10,000, equals 460,000, not 470,000. So that's not my answer. Okay, let's check the next one. 465,313. Okay, step 1, I'm going to underline the digit I'm rounding to, which is my 10,000. Step 2, I'm going to circle the digit to the right, who becomes my bossy neighbor. Now my bossy neighbor is going to say, I'm a 5, so go up the line. So he tells him to go up the line. Well, if 6 goes up the line, it becomes a 7. That's step 2. Step 3 is all the digits to the right become zeros. So that becomes a 0, that becomes a 0, that becomes a 0, and that becomes a 0. And step 4 is everything to the left stays the same. So the 4 stays the same. Well, that looks like it's my answer. I would actually never stop there though, because sometimes there's multiple right answers or sometimes you've made a mistake. So I still am going to check all of them. So 459,313. Okay, step 1, underline your digit you're rounding to. Step 3, circle your digit to the right and he becomes your bossy neighbor. So he's going to say, I'm a 9, so go up the line. So if this 5 goes up the line, it's going to become a 6. Step 3 is everything to the right becomes zeros. And step 4 is everything to the left stays the same. So this is not my answer because they wanted it to be 470,000. Okay, we have one left on this problem. You're seeing how these problems take a long time because it's really 4 problems in one. Okay, I'm going to underline for step 1 my rounding digit. Step 2, I'm going to circle my bossy neighbor to the right. My bossy neighbor is going to say, I'm a 5, so go up the line. This becomes an 8. Step 3 is everything to the right becomes zeros. So the 5 becomes a 0, the 3 becomes a 0, the 1 becomes a 0, the 3 becomes a 0. And everything to the left stays the same. So that was not my answer either. So I was correct. B was my only answer choice. So you're going to see problems like that. You're also going to see problems where it's just one problem. So this one says round to the nearest tenth. Again, I prefer to rewrite them. Okay, so I need to know my place values. So after the decimal, the first one's my tenths, my hundredths, my thousandths. So this is the place value I'm rounding to. Okay, so step 1 was I underlined the digit I'm rounding to. Step 2 is I circle the bossy neighbor to the right. And he says, I'm a 7, so go up the line. So he tells the 9 to go up the line. Now this one's tricky because when I can't write a 2-digit number where only one number goes. So this one, the 9 actually becomes a 10. So the 0, and then I kind of carry the 1. So this becomes a 0, but then that becomes a 2. That one's really tricky. Okay, and that's why down here I said this may not be the case for the tricky ones because this 1 actually turned into a 2. But then I continue with my steps. So step 3 is everything to the right becomes zeros, everything to the left then stays the same. Okay, so those are probably going to be the tricky ones on there, so beware of those. So again, how did I do that? 7 said, I'm a 7, so go up the line. Well, 9 became a 10, so that I put a 0 and then I added the 1 to the next one, just like we do with regular addition. Okay, so let's try some together now. All right, I'm putting down my red pen, grabbing my green pen, and let's look at this one. I'm going to zoom in to help so we can see this a little bit better. So round to the nearest tenth. Okay, again, I prefer to rewrite my number. So what is my 10th place value? Well, this is my tenths right there. That's my hundredths and that's my thousands. So step 1 is we're going to underline the digit we're rounding to. Step 2 is we're going to circle the bossy neighbor on the right. And the bossy neighbor says, I'm a 2, so stay the same. So remember, and I just refer back to this. So he says, I'm a 2, so stay the same. Which means my 4 stays a 4. Step 3 is everything on the right becomes zeros. So the 2 was a 0, the 5 was a 0. And step 4 is everything to the left stays the same. So my decimal and my 3. Don't forget that decimal though. So my answer is 3 and 400 thousandths. Okay, that one was quick. These ones, not so quick because again, it's like 4 problems in one. Okay, so I'm going to first check A. It says, what number when rounded to the nearest thousand rounds to 16,000? Well, let's check A. So I'm going to rewrite it. Okay, well, 1,000. Which one's my thousands place value? You could use this to help you. You could write the numbers on top. This is my 1,000. Oh, I wrote the wrong digit. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I meant to write A. Okay, let's try that again. So this is my thousands place value. So step 1 is I underlined it. Step 2 is I circle the bossy neighbor on the right, and he says, I'm a 5, so go up the line. So my 6 becomes a 7. Step 3 is everything on the right becomes zeros. And step 4 is everything on the left stays the same. So 16,578 rounds to 17,000. Nope, we were looking for one that rounded to 16,000. Not our answer. Okay, I know that's kind of squished here, so let's try. B says 15,438. Okay, step 1, we underline the digit we're rounding to, which is the thousands. Step 2, I circle the bossy neighbor on the right, and he says, I'm a 4, so stay the same as before. So the 5 stays a 5. Step 3, everything to the right becomes zeros. And step 4, everything on the left stays the same. So this rounds to 15,000. So that also is not our answer. Okay, let's try C. C says 15,538. Okay, step 1, we're going to underline our rounding place value. Step 2, we're going to circle our bossy neighbor on the right. And he's going to say, I'm a 5, so go up the line. So our 5 becomes a 6. Step 3, everything on the right becomes zeros. And step 4, everything on the left stays the same as before. Okay, it looks like that's my answer. I'm going to circle it, but I'm still going to check the last one just to make sure I didn't make a mistake. So D is 15,409. Okay, I'm going to underline my rounding place value, circle my bossy neighbor on the right, and he's going to say, I'm a 4, so stay the same. So my 5 stays the same, step 3, everything on the right becomes zeros. And step 4, everything on the left stays the same. So this rounds to 15,000. Nope, so C was my only answer. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have 4 problems tonight, and I know some of these problems have a lot of problems in them. Okay, do your very best, rate yourself, and we will work on this tomorrow. Have a great night, ladies and gentlemen.